Hello, this is Max again. It is Tuesday, June 2nd. I decided that I'm going to post a video every day from now on until Pentecost of 2010, whether I feel like it or not, as part of my fast. Most likely it's going to be one of my Bible studies blogs, but it might be about something else, about issues in the news or whatnot. And so this is number 29, and ending the Sermon of the Mount. And I'm thinking after I do Matthew, I'm going to do 1 Corinthians and then maybe do John. Because while I believe either Matthew or Luke or the Gospels on Christ's ministry and what he did and what his life and death meant, the Gospel according to John was more of the spiritual, more of why Jesus was, and so I think that those would be the best for the first three, doing Matthew, then 1 Corinthians, which is basically, because I believe the Sermon on the Mount is one of the best ways of saying how we should live. I believe 1 Corinthians is it's like almost a textbook in a way of how to evangelize, how to live Christian faith. So, with that out of the way, let's get to it. Matthew 7:24-28. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. When Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, because he taught as one who had authority, and not as their teachers of the law. I hope that my house is built on sand. Not built on sand. I hope that my house is built on rock. Sometimes that foundation feels very, very shaky. Feels like house built on rock in an earthquake zone, but much solider than sand. And thankfully, being part of a church family helps fellow Christians or the mortar, helping make sure that foundation is solid and is strong. That's why I think the Sermon on the Mount is so important. That's why I think Jesus' teachings are so important. Because if you don't live the faith, if you don't put his teachings into practice, if you don't practice what you preach, you really don't have much of a faith. It's just belief. It's just it's just a series of beliefs, but nothing really keeping you solid with God. And I mean, this is after talking about the either the rapture or the day of judgment, those that are turned away. I mean, those that were turned away did not live a life based on these teachings, did not live a life based on love for neighbor, based on compassion for those who have had a lesser lot in life than you. those who judge and condemn without looking into their own souls and seeing what's wrong with them. And I know I have problems. I mean, I think one of the main reasons why I get so angry with fundamentalists is because I see the damage they do. I see the damage they do when people of shaky faith, people who want to believe, but their faith is, for one reason or another, shaky, and they see a Christianity that is mean-spirited, that is dogmatic, and us versus them, they'll begin to lose faith. I mean, if I believe in Christ, I believe what I believe, but they believe what they believe, and look at what they're doing. What if they're right? And if they're right, that's not a God I want to worship. And so they start losing faith. And we all have specks in our eyes. And that's why I think helping each other take our specks out instead of pointing out. I mean, I just... There's so much hatred in this world, and we should not add to it. And we're supposed to people who put money in their own... No, I'm not a socialist. I don't believe that the government should control everything. But I do believe that government should be a counterbalance. That if the free market, if capitalism gets too out of whack, and if there is that the businesses profit and the businesses make excess profit while the poor suffer, then the government has to step in. I mean, one of my favorite Republicans, Teddy Roosevelt, was a huge buster of antitrust laws, of trust with antitrust laws. And I believe communism, socialism, can be just as bad as trickle-down economics. But when you don't care, but all these things, what I'm trying to say is, if you care about your fellow man, if you care about, and not as a show, but just out of love. And that's why, I mean, it starts with the Beatitudes, and it ends with those who are turned away, and the parable of the house built on rock and the house built on sand. And so that's why I think every Christian should read this section and truly read it and pray over it. I mean, there's been a whole controversy about the Ten Commandments being in courthouses. I mean, I would kind of, say separation of church and state, which I believe to an extent. But I was wondering if you would mention, like, putting up the Beatitudes in the Capitol, or because I don't know if a lot of our politicians, even Christian politicians, would match that. But that's today. God bless.